Shalom, shalom, shalom. Yasharahla is your brother Nehemiah. Ak Nehemiah from Nations and Kings and Priests, NoKaP Cali section. All right, now coming back at you with another class. All right, but before I get into it and I get started, I want to say, Call Hala Yahweh Bahashem, Yahwahshi Bahashem Rawak Kwadash. All right. And I want to send a mighty shalom to all the Akim on the highways and byways, magnifying the name of the Most High, bringing out the words of the Most High to the best of their ability. All right, presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice according to the book of Romans, chapter 12 and verse 1. All right, doing all that they can to make the election sure. All right, shalom, 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 Akim. I also want to send out another mighty shalom to all the Akwathim, the sisters, reverencing their husbands, being diligent. All right, walking in the paths of our righteous foremothers. All right, striving to be that Proverbs 31 woman, striving to be that Ephesians 5 woman, striving to be that 1 Peter chapter 3 woman, and so on and so forth, and who are actually being sincere and being diligent in this thing. Shalom, shalom, shalom. I also want to send out another mighty shalom and double honors to the Zaquanium, all right, of the Marshara Yasharhala and all the other Zaquanium that are not part of the Marshara Yasharhala. I want to send a double honors and a mighty shalom to you. All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. All right, now let's get into this class. All right, the topic of this class is going to be the Most High is not the author of confusion, but he is the author of confusion in language. All right. The Most High is not the author of confusion, but is the author of confusion in language. All right. Now we're going to get into this. It's going to be a quick class, and we're going to go through these precepts. All right. Through thy precepts, we get the understanding. All right. So we're going to start with the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 14 and verse 33. And it reads, For Yahweh is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints. All right. Now, when you read this in context, it's talking about something specifically. All right. When you read this scripture in its proper context, when it says, For Yahweh is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints, this precept is specifically talking about the unknown tongues. He is not the author of confusion, specifically in the unknown tongues. We will get that. But before we get that, let's prove that he is the author of confusion when it comes to language, when it comes to speech. All right. Like how English, some Chinese can't understand people who speak English. All right. So with that, let's go to the book of Genesis. All right. Let's go to the book of Genesis. Let's go to the book of Salakia. It's the wrong chapter. Book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 9, or verses, Salakia. Wrong chapter. Genesis chapter 11 and verses 6 through 9. All right, let's get these. And it reads, And the Most High said, Behold, the people is one, and they all, Salakia, and they have all one language. All right, so we all spoke the brew at one point in time. All nations spoke the brew. All right. The people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. All right. Go to, let us go down, and there confound. All right. I'm going to stop right there. Let's go back to 1 Corinthians. Let's go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 33. All right, so it says, For Yahweh is not the author of confusion. Okay, he is not the author of confusion. What does confusion mean? When you go to the Greek, All right. It's G181. All right. And I'm going to call them out, and then we're going to go to them. All right. Confusion has multiple different meanings, but they all tie in to be the same thing, meaning the same thing. All right. So confusion is G181 in the interlinear. All right. Or in the Strong's Concordance. All right. And it means instability. It means disorder. All right. It means rebellion. It means disturbance, upheaval, revolution, commotion, all right, riot, tumult, anarchy, and confound. So we read confound in Genesis 11 and verse, was it 7, I think, or 8. So confusion is meaning confound, but we're going to get these words, all right? So let's go get these words real quick. All right. Let's go get the definitions, what these words really mean, so we can get the proper understanding of what it's talking about. Then when we read that precept, 1 Corinthians 14 and 33, we got to read it in context. You know, the Most High says, through thy precepts, we get understanding. All right. The word says, through thy precepts, we get understanding. All right. But you have to have the proper context in some precepts that you are reading. You know, you got to know what is being spoken of to understand that precept. All right. Sometimes you might just need a precept to that is plain. All right. But with certain precepts, you got to get the context. All right. Or you're going to misuse that word, and now you're adding to it or taking away from it. All right. So we got to be very careful on how we teach and what we're bringing out. All right. So when you go to the interlinear, right, I'm going to go to a few different versions, and we're going to see them all tie up together. All right. I go to different parts of the interlinear. I grab this, I grab that, I grab this, because I need to make sure that they're all saying the same thing. All right. Or on the same page. All right. Or the words can be used as a synonym for this word. So I want to make sure that I'm getting the most accurate and the most beneficial understanding. So I am not, when I'm teaching, I'm not confusing nobody. All right. I'm not confounding nobody. I'm not bringing out something that is not true. You know, so we always cross-reference. All right. So when you go to the 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 33 in G81, means disorder. All right. For he is not it's like I can't even read it in this one. It's kind of weird how it's set up, but it's G181. All right. G181. And this is just one of them. All right. This is the transliteration, akastastia, however you pronounce that. All right. And it means disturbance, upheaval, revolution, almost anarchy, first in the political and thence in the moral sphere. All right. And the origins from it comes from that. Akatastatos, instability or disorder. And the usage of it can also be used as commotion, confusion, or tumult. All right. So we got that one. Let's go to the blue letter real quick. And let's go to get this one. And I have an actual hard copy of the Strong's Concordance. So I'm gonna grab something out of my hard copy too. You know, so I go to 3 different versions. You know, make sure they all lining up. All right, Salakia, 1 Corinthians 14, 33. We go to the interlinear and let's see what this word means. All right, of confusion, right? Of confusion.
Strong's G181, akatastasia. Akatastasia.
Okay, so that's how you pronounce it, akatastasia. You know, so let's go there and let's get it. All right, what it say? Outline of biblical usage: instability, a state of disorder. You know, according to 1 Corinthians 14 and 40, let all things be done decently and in order. All right. So when there's confusion in the churches, all right, there's disorder. It's out of order. All right. There's a disturbance and a confusion in the matter. All right. Unstable. It's not stable. It's not on a solid foundation. All right. Instability, a state of disorder, disturbance, confusion. All right. Here's some more: confusion, commotion, tumult. All right. And you can even go to the Jusinius. It's not even on here. Not on this one. But anyways, we're getting, now I'm going to read out of my hard copy. You can't see the hard copy because it's right in front of me, But I wanted to just grab my hard copy so we can get it. And it says the same thing. Disorder, rebellion, and riot. And this one, these other ones don't, interlinears don't say riot, but in my hard copy it does. Well, actually, there you go right there. Salakia. So they're all lining up. They're all saying the same thing. All right. So that is what confusion is. It's instability. It's disorder. It's commotion, confusion, tumult. All right. Upheaval, anarchy. All right. Confound. All right. So, matter of fact, let's get the definition of what confound is. Confound. Confound. Cause surprise or confusion in someone, especially by acting against their expectations. All right. Mix up something with something, mix up with something else so that the individual elements become difficult to distinguish. Confound. Cause surprise or confusion in someone. All right. So it's confusion. That's what confound is. All right. Now that we have the proper understanding of what that is, let's reread 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 33. For Yahweh is not the author of confusion, all right, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints. Let's get it in the GNT. So let's see what the GNT say. All right. Let's see what the GNT say. It reads, because Yahweh does not want us to be in disorder. That's one other synonym for what confusion is. But in harmony and peace, as in all the churches of Yahweh's people. All right. So now let's go back to Genesis chapter 11, verses 6 through 9. Let's read it from the top. And the Most High said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound, confuse their language. All right, so in its proper context, 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 33, when it says the Most High is not the author of confusion, like I said, it's specifically talking about the unknown tongue, and we're going to get to that next. But he is the author of confusion of language, and we see that right here in Genesis, the 11th chapter, verse 7. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language. Let's go ahead and just go grab what confound mean. All right, we know what confound is already, but let's just go get it. Let's just go get it. All right. Let's go get it. And this one. Let's go to this one first. Let's go to the blue letter first. All right. Let's go to the blue letter first. Salakia. And confound. All right. To mix, mingle, confuse, confound, to mingle, confuse, to mix. All right. To give provender, this doesn't apply, because obviously it says animals. All right. To mix oneself among others. All right. To fade away. Confuse. So it's here we go again, right here. Balaw, H1101. Boom. To mingle, mix, confuse, confound. Okay. So the Most High is the author of confusion when it comes to languages, when it comes to speech. He is the author of confusion when it comes to that, but he is not the author of confusion when it comes to the unknown tongue. So we can't slip on this. So when we out on the highways and byways teaching, make sure you use the Most High is not the author of confusion in the right way. All right. Let me keep on reading from 7 on down. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language. that they may not understand one another's speech. That's being the author of confusion when it comes to language. All right, language. Let's make sure we making the difference, because the Most High is not the author of confusion when it comes to the unknown tongue. We're going to get that next. So the Most High scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. This is talking about the Tower of Babel. All right. Therefore is the name of it called Babel. All right. Babel is just another word for Babylon. All right. It was an Eastern Mediterranean empire. All right. And Salakia is an Eastern Mediterranean empire. All right. In the modern day Hilla today, which is in Iraq. All right. Because the Most High did there confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did the Most High scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. All right, so he is the author of confusion when it comes to language, but he is not the author of confusion when it comes to the unknown tongue. Now let's get to it. All right, so when we're talking about the unknown tongue, we need to read it in its proper context. All right, so we're going to start first. Let's start back at 33. For Yahweh is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints. The churches, all right, it's not talking about that nasty temple you go to with Pastor Pork Chop in there, having a whole demonic possession going on, then asking you for your tithes, all right, and give you that little thin slice of bread when you do communion with the cranberry juice. It's not talking about that church. The churches, when you go to the book of Acts, the 7th chapter, all right, verses 38 and 48, all right, it's talking about the congregation of the Israelites, all right? That's what the church is. So when it says, for Yahweh is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all the churches, it's talking about the congregations of the Israelites. And it follows up of the saints. And we know the saints are the Israelites, all right? So now, when we read this precept, let's read it in its proper context. All right, let's start at verse 2. It's book of 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 2. And it reads, for he that speaketh in an unknown tongue speaketh not unto men, but unto Yahweh, for no man understandeth him. Howbeit, in the spirit he speaketh mysteries. All right, so when somebody is speaking in the unknown tongue, meaning talking about dark mysteries, parables, all right, things some people in the church don't understand. That's why it says, for he that speaketh in an unknown tongue speaketh not unto men, but unto Yahweh. Yahweh know what he talking about, but the other Akim or Akwathian might not know. So they need somebody to break it down. For no man understandeth him. Howbeit in the spirit he speaketh mysteries. All right. Now let's drop down to 14. Salakia. Drop down to verse 14. And it reads, for if I pray in an unknown tongue, my spirit prayeth, but my understanding is unfruitful. All right. So when you speaking in an unknown tongue, your spirit, the one that's underneath the flesh, that's what you're always dealing with, is the spirit. All right. Things are spiritual first before they're carnal. Your spirit prayeth when you're speaking in an unknown tongue. All right. Let's go down to verse 27. Okay. Let's get that as well. And it reads, if any man speak in an unknown tongue, let it be by two, or at the most by three, and that by course, and let one interpret. All right. So when you are speaking in an unknown tongue, all right, you have to have two or three at most for people to interpret. One is speaking and one is interpreting what's being spoken. All right, so when we get down to verse 33, you start to see that when the Most High says that he's not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints, it's specifically talking about the unknown tongue. Reason why he's specifically talking about the unknown tongue is because he's having 2 or 3 at most interpreting what's being spoken. So if you have 2 or 3 Akim and they're teaching and they're speaking things that are deep, you have to have somebody to interpret those things, because the Most High is not the author of confusion in the unknown tongue, but of peace, as in all churches. So everybody has to be in order. Everything has to be in order. Everything has to be understood. So there's no tumult going on when you got 2 or 3 people talking about something that is of strong meat or of deep understanding, and you have some people in the church that don't understand. You have to have one interpret, so there is no confusion in the churches, but everything will be at peace once that interpreter makes the point of what those 2 or 3 Akim are saying. So I wanted to bring this out because we have to know 1 Corinthians 14 and 33 in its proper context. And at the Most High, a lot of Akim or congregations, I don't know if they do have this understanding or if they don't, but we have to know that the Most High is not the author of confusion when it comes to the unknown tongue, and that he is the author of confusion when it comes to language. All right, so let's just make sure that we using these precepts in the proper way. All right, so we're not adding or taking away from the word. All right, because we still have to follow these laws, statutes, and commandments. All right, just because we know what somebody might know 1,000 precepts, you still got to keep this law. Knowing 1,000 precepts is not going to get you your salvation. Knowing 1,000 precepts so you can cut a Christian or a Muslim or a Baptist, it's not going to get you your salvation. Following these law, statutes, and commandments is going to get you your salvation. All right. And ultimately, we can't add or take away from the word. So this is the reason why the topic is so important, because we want to make sure we're using things in its proper context and in its proper way. All right. And with that, it's your brother Nehemiah from Nations and Kings and Priests, NoKap Cali section. All right. And with that, I want to say shalom.